I've been getting some questions recently about why we should pray for our enemies, especially in the light of what's happened to Charlie Kirk. It's a really good question. It's not exactly a simple answer, so I'm going to put it the way that God taught me why you should pray for your enemies. So I want to take you into the story of Jesus at the tombs. And there's this place in Jesus' time called the Decapolis. Deca meaning 10, Opolis meaning city. There was 10 cities, and they all shared a central point where the tombs, the graveyard, it was a graveyard basically. And that's where all these 10 cities would bury their dead. And so this one guy had been living there, and he'd been through all 10 towns, kind of a transient vagrant, homeless guy. He was demonically possessed, and because of that he had supernatural strength. And so as he was causing trouble in all these 10 towns, each town would imprison him, and they would basically throw him in the drunk tank, and he'd break out, and they'd throw him in a jail cell and he'd break out, and they would chain him to a wall and he'd snap the chain. And okay, you get the idea. Well, Jesus is walking by the tombs as this guy has been relegated to living at the place of death. That's really important. And so Jesus is here, and he says, "What's your name?" And the demons say, "Oh, we're Legion. We are many." And Legion's a lot, by the way. And so Jesus, and I'm shortening this, but he casts the demons into a herd of pigs, and they go and they drown. Now, most pulpits, that's where the story ends. That's where the sermon is. Okay, goodbye, go watch your football, right? Okay, wrong. That's not where the story ends. That's where the story begins. And this is really important. The story begins because Jesus then sat with this guy for 3 days. He sat with him for 3 days, healing his mind, healing his heart, healing his body. And Jesus, he pours into this guy. On the third day, Jesus sits up and says, "Well, time to be hitting the old dusty trail." And the guy pops up and says, "Where we going, boss?" And Jesus says, "You're not going anywhere. Me and my disciples, we have work to do, but your work is right here." The guy went to the Decapolis and he showed himself to all of the townspeople as proof that he was demonically possessed. He was in the camp of death, physically, spiritually, in every way. He was with death. And when he came back, he proved, as in something people could lay their hands on, tangible proof, that he was not only saved, he was healed, and he was filled with the Holy Spirit. So what does this have to do with praying for our enemies? I'm glad you asked. The way this works is that in Ephesians, it says, in Ephesians 6, Paul says, we don't struggle against flesh and blood. We struggle against powers and municipalities, against cosmic forces of darkness. That demonic man in the tombs, if anybody deserved to die, it was him. Now, in this world, you can have demonic influence, demonic oppression, and demonic possession. Influence is kind of like that little voice or that little demon sits on your shoulder and says, really, they're tempting you to do things. Demonic oppression is when you just think like a demonic cloud over and around you, and it's really hard to function. Depression, anxiety, those are really good examples of when you have like an oppression on you. And then there's possession. That's when demonic forces, evil forces are living inside of you. And they're basically parasites on your spirit. And they're calling the shots. That's demonic possession. So, let me ask you this. If you have a broken leg and you go to the hospital, do they, No. If you got a sick kid and they've got the flu, do you chuck them off a cliff? No. If somebody is sick with a spiritual illness, they're not filled with the Holy Spirit. They've got demons latched onto them on the inside. And they're doing evil things. You know, that Karen that's always causing trouble, that's always got drama, and it is out of nowhere, for no reason, this Karen's just causing trouble. Well, guess what? That's probably demonic influence. Yeah, that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, right? Does that mean that we should just, no. And Jesus, if anybody had the right to, it was Jesus. Because that's God, the Spirit of God in a meat suit walking around, right? The ultimate creator, the guy who laid down the law. If anybody has right to off somebody, it's him. And what did he do? He freed him through the power of the Spirit. He sat with him. He discipled him. And then he sent him out. I want you to look at demonic activities. When somebody is just constantly hurting themselves or others, when they're causing trouble for no reason at all, when they're being that Karen that is just always miserable and always hateful and just, you know what I mean. Pray for them. Because it is not the will of the Father that any should perish, but all should come back to him. It is the will of the Father that all would be filled with his Holy Spirit and live in harmony and peace with him. That's God's will. That's God's will for your life too. So why don't we just our enemies? You know why? Because they're sick. We don't kill people that are sick. It's not how that works. We tend to them. We show them compassion and mercy. And therein lies the mystery of why Jesus said, love your enemies. Love you. Have a good day. Be blessed.